Good evening. I'm Dr. Fred Rouse, the Real Money Doctor, and it's currently just about 7 o'clock on Thursday, July 30th, and I wanted to touch base on today's daily events that affect the way you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. And the question for today is actually more of a thought than a question, is boom or bust? It started today, and I'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. But again, we start every day touching base on the COVID situation because up until now, that's pretty much been the main driver of what's been happening. That and the politics in the United States, which is making us a laughing stock of the world at this point in time. However, back to the COVID cases. Right now, there are currently 4,475,000 cases. Okay, that's up 77,000 cases since yesterday. 77,000 cases since yesterday. Total number of cases that have actually recovered is about 30%. And about 3% of the total number of cases have actually died. Now, the death total right now in the U.S. is currently 151,570. Okay, that's up another 1,500 people since yesterday at this point in time. The death numbers are not happy by a lot. The case numbers are not happy. The death numbers are not happy. California's got the number one spot. They've had it for almost 3 weeks right now, maybe 3 weeks. I can't quite remember. Anyway, their case count right now is 486,000 cases. They're up 12,500 cases since yesterday. Their deaths right now are 8,913. They've had another 189 people die in California since yesterday. Florida's got the number 2 spot. However, Texas, has just moved up to the number 3 spot. Okay. So California, Florida, and Texas, all states try to reopen to some degree. New York has dropped to number 4. Georgia also tried to reopen to some degree. They're at number 5 right now. They moved up. New Jersey's dropped to number 6. Illinois stays at number 7. Arizona is staying at number 8, although they're still unhappy. North Carolina has made it up to number 9 yesterday, I believe. Massachusetts at number 10. Now, the number of new infections appears to have sort of peaked. It's still consistent, but it's sort of peaked. But hospitalizations still continue to rise, and the death toll is actually soaring. More than 1,400 coronavirus deaths reported nationwide just on Wednesday. Roughly 1 fatality for every minute of the day. And that was the worst day for COVID in 2 months. Arizona, Florida, Mississippi on Thursday already reported record highs in new deaths in the one day. That the numbers just keep staggering. It's unbelievable. Florida has broken the single day record of coronavirus related deaths since the onset of the pandemic for the 3rd consecutive day this week, even as hospitalizations for the disease have steadily declined. Now, the state on Tuesday reported 186 new deaths from COVID complications in the last 24-hour period. Then on Wednesday, an additional 216 deaths. Thursday, the record was again broken for a 3rd time. 253 fatalities on Thursday. Now, at least 6,586 people have died in Florida so far from COVID. And that's according to the state health department. As of Thursday, Florida recorded at least 461,000 confirmed cases. And 26,000 residents remain hospitalized with the disease. New deaths bring the average reported deaths per day to 154 for the last week, second only to Texas in the resurgence of the outbreak. Now, Florida's current rate of death is about 1/5 of those logged in New York at the highest of their peak back in April. Now, Governor Ron DeSantis right now, interesting guy, runs the state his way. He's actually refused to issue statewide mask mandate, despite the numbers. His state's going under, but He refused to issue a mandate for masks. In other news today, Herman Cain, former pizza chain executive and former Republican presidential candidate, he died after testing positive for COVID. Now, it's really unclear whether Cain contracted the disease when he attended a June Trump rally, because the campaign in Tulsa, he was there with a few other thousand supporters, most of whom didn't wear masks. Johnson & Johnson launched human trials of its potential coronavirus vaccine in the U.S. on Thursday. After an encouraging study that showed a single shot of the vaccine appeared to protect monkeys against infections. Other vaccine technologies in the last stages of human testing in the United States, they all pretty much require 2 doses to be given, several weeks apart. So if something can happen with 1 dose, that's a real big deal. Again, getting it out to everybody, the number of doses that need to be available is going to be astounding. And even though they may have a vaccine possibly before the end of the year, having it available to the masses might not actually happen until the middle of next year at the earliest, because of just the numbers that are involved and the processing that has to take place in order to get those vaccines out to people. Now, also in the news, Representative Louis Gohmert from Texas tested positive, for COVID. Now, the House Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, made masks mandatory on the House floor. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, a Republican from California, urged Pelosi to institute mandatory testing for lawmakers, a proposal which she and the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell had already declined earlier in the year. They're going to reconsider that one, though. Now, on the money side, though, Dow was down today a little bit, 225 points. Not a little bit if you're in there. And it closed basically at 26,300. Also on the money side, Congress is nowhere near close to a deal on the coronavirus relief bill, meaning that basically 20 million Americans are likely to stop receiving their emergency unemployment benefits sometime this week. Now, because it's always been so busy in the news, you may have missed a rather stunning announcement today from the Commerce Department. The second quarter economic growth, the real gross domestic product, decreased at an annual rate of 32.9% in the second quarter of 2020. 32.9%. That represents the loss of basically 1/3 of the economy. Just sit with that for a second. 1/3 of the economy gone. Now, let's back out a little bit, and it's true, but it's not exactly true. But let's take a peek at it anyway. The Commerce Department reports quarterly GDPs at an annual rate to allow easy comparisons to other time periods. Now, you pull out the annualization, and you see the economy actually contracted 9.5% in the second quarter. That's still amazing, 9.5% contraction of the economy in the second quarter. In other words, 32.9% is how much the economy would shrink if business closures and spending cuts for the second quarter increased and compounded into 9.5% for the rest of the entire year, adjusting for seasonality. And that's just some economic nonsense. However, think of what an apocalypse could be, if annualization assumes that businesses closed this quarter would remain closed, and just as many more would close in the third quarter. And we'd expand those closures again in the fourth, and again in the first quarter of next year. Is that likely to happen? I don't know. I don't think it's going to be quite that bad, but we still have some problems here. Now, you take the devastation you saw in the last 3 months, and multiply that by 4. That is essentially what annualization actually does. Now, to see 1/3 of the economy truly just vanish, look at the Great Depression from 1929 to 1933. The GDP contracted about 36%. That's the actual contraction, no annualization. Those are actual numbers for the entire time. The Commerce Department data, which goes back to 1947, shows the previous worst quarter on record was a 2.6% drop in 1958. That contraction just happened to coincide with the Asian flu pandemic, which also claimed about 1 million lives worldwide. Now, with that data, we can also establish that a drop of 9.5% makes this quarter the worst since 1875. The next worst was 1893, when the legendary panic and a run on the banks resulted in a long, painful depression in 1937, when the Great Depression took a turn for the worse. Then we saw drops of 8.4 and 7.2 respectively. It's over a 9% drop though. 9.5% drop. Okay. That pushes every number. Okay, those are actual numbers. 9.5% drop in the economy in one quarter. Now, this is really simple to me. Anyway, it's simple. I'm just a little guinea kid from South Philadelphia. I'm nothing fancy. But it would seem to me, if you want to open the economy, it's really pretty simple. Everybody just needs to wear a mask and social distance. If everybody just did that one thing, wear a mask and social distance, the country would be close to back to normal in just a matter of months. I mean, you still have to make some changes in restaurants and bars, that type of thing. Okay. And the stadiums for the sports would be a little bit difficult, but they could manage that too. But again, if everybody wore a mask and social distance, you can solve 3/4 of these problems. But today, there are still people that absolutely refuse to wear a mask. It's unbelievable. Okay. More important, people are infected with COVID, and it reaches in all areas where even the non-believers, okay, as that happens, more people will soon begin to know somebody who's gotten COVID. As that happens, it will become exceptionally obvious that the real science from mainstream doctors and researchers were right all along. Okay? As you have a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, or your own child who actually gets COVID, you then come to realize that you've been lied to. And it wasn't by the mainstream media. It was by the politicians and the politics and the ideology and the fringe fanatics that get the news from social media and think that books are just something that you use to prop up the sofa when the leg broke. Okay? These are the people that are out there. Okay? Now, that really brings me to the thought for today. Boom or bust. It started today. On this day, in 1965, the world changed for every American when Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Medicare bill. Medicare is a health insurance program for the elderly Americans. That bill signing ceremony, which took place in the Truman Library in Independence, Missouri, and former President Harry Truman was enrolled as Medicare's first beneficiary and received the first Medicare card. It was sort of nice. Johnson wanted to recognize Truman, who in 1945 had become the first president to propose national health insurance as an initiative that was opposed at the time by Congress. What a surprise. Nothing's really changed. The Medicare program that provides hospital medical insurance for Americans aged 65 and older was signed into law as an amendment to the Social Security Act of 1935. Some 19 million people enrolled in Medicare when it first went into effect in 1966. Now, in 1972, the eligibility for the program was extended to Americans under 65 with certain disabilities and people of all ages with permanent kidney dialysis, okay, that had a transplant. Now, since the signing, there have been an endless debate as to whether the program was a boom or a bust. Further, the entire debate on healthcare in the United States has been one hot button issue for years and years. Okay, from private pay to Medicare to Medicaid to the Affordable Care Act, okay, now Medicare for all. Okay, lawmakers have argued, how, who, and how much Americans should pay for their health care. Now, right now, the United States is the only industrialized country without universal health care. That's according to Senator Bernie Sanders, who repeatedly says the same thing. He says we're the only company, the only major country that doesn't guarantee health care to all its right people as a right. Well, it's sort of true. Now, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, okay, and a group of It's 36 countries. That includes Australia, Austria, Canada, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Japan, and the United Kingdom, and the United States, and 26 more. That group does not include China or Russia, which they consider emerging economies. But a report by that organization found that only 2 member countries, only 2, lack universal health care coverage. One was Mexico. And in 2018, Mexico implemented their own public health care system, which provides universal health care for Mexican families and for foreign residents enrolled in the system. Now, the other country on the list that lacked universal health care was the United States. Now, despite all the constant grumbling about a government healthcare system, it's amazingly efficient for what it is. It really is. Okay. No private insurances come close to the efficiencies that are in the Medicare system. Mostly because private insurances, okay, are profit-based. So anything you pay into it is going to CEOs and management, and they make a lot of money. Now, I'm a certified financial planner, and I've been working with select individuals and small businesses with 0 to 6 employees for over 30 years. I did that before I retired. Now, I don't know one person I've ever met that would actually want to give up their Medicare. It takes an amazing amount of pressure off of someone that's in the program. For all the complaining that some people do about it, okay, they can't imagine what their life would be without it, though. The healthcare and money are 2 major big keys to retirement. Most everyone who's worked at least 10 years of their adult life is going to qualify for Medicare. So the healthcare things are at least sort of under control. It's the money part that people constantly come up short on. If you're 50 plus and you're already starting to feel the pressure of not having saved enough over the years, you already know you don't have the time to try to save $1,000 a month for the next 30 years at this point in your life, and you've only got really a short window of time to make any meaningful change. Well, I'm Dr. Fred Rouse. I'm the Real Money Doctor. My only goal is to help you get, protect, and enjoy your money, your life, and your retirement. Now, I developed a program called Short Window Retirement Planning. It's specifically for the unique needs and situations of people that are 50 and older, so that they can have the option to retire in the next 3 to 5 years, starting with as little as $10,000. Now, if you want to get control of your retirement situation and the rest of your life, so that you can retire sometime in the next 3 to 5 years with the cash flow that you'll actually need to maintain the lifestyle that you actually want and deserve, without ever having to worry about a job or money again, then go to my site, drrousenow.com. See if I can help. There's a video that will explain the program. See if I can help you get the ultimate secure retirement that you actually once dreamed of. For now, I appreciate spending some time with you tonight. I look forward to spending some more time with you tomorrow around 7 o'clock. Thank you.